Absolutely not. But, you know, he has a lot of the qualities. No. He has a lot of the qualities.
Y'all, Solange Knowles recently called out Richard Lawson for betraying her mom, Tina Nos. So she provided evidence to support her claims. Solange is known for being fiercely protective of her family. And y'all, Richard is now experiencing the consequences of crossing her. In case you missed it, this is what happened. Richard and Tina recently finalized their divorce, but that doesn't mean the drama's over. Solange is now claiming that Richard allegedly stole from Tina when they were married. Solange also hinted that it was all about the money for Richard, and y'all, just a long pull up with the receipts on how Richard has been manipulating his way into Tina's life for more than 30 years. Y'all better hold on to your edges for this one because Solange did not come to play. So it looks like Tina Nos' divorce from Richard Lawson is bringing back way more drama than we thought. At first, we all assumed it was going to be one of those smooth, no drama divorces. But baby, the T Solange's feeling says otherwise. Turns out that marriage was a hot mess full of chaos and madness. It got so bad that Solange and Beyonce might have been cheering for it to end. And y'all know that if the Noble sisters come and give their blessing to a divorce, that marriage must have been toxic as F. At first, they were all completely in support of the marriage because they loved that their mom was able to find love again after her roller coaster of a marriage to their dad.
I've said numerous times on interviews, I really cracked up laughing because I just know Solange and her personality. You know, she's a firecracker at times. Don't know if she got that from her mother or from her father. That's up to all of you. I'd like for you to just text in or on your social media, who do you think Solange got her personality from? Her mom or her dad? And the answer is...
Richard knows we all remember that messy situation, right? Matthew and Tina's marriage was drama-filled and nearly fell apart multiple times before they finally called it quits in 2011. Now, under any other circumstances, you just know Beyonce and Solange would have had their guard all the way up when Richard started making moves on their mom right after she dropped that divorce bombshell on Matthew. And let's be real, Solange's side would have been fully justified because Tina is and always has been that girl. Y'all know it's giving high-value woman. We're talking about the mother of Beyonce and Solange. And let's not forget the mother-in-law of Jay-Z. So y'all know she'd have suitors lining up, many of whom would be looking to use her as a shortcut to fame, fortune, and deceit at the Nos Carter table. But like I said, I would have made total sense for Solange to be all kinds of suspicious when Richard came in hot, ready to lay it all on the line for Tina. But guess what? She wasn't. Solange completely trusted Richard, and that's because he wasn't just some random dude. He'd been tight with the family for years, way before things got romantic. Richard and Tina go way back. Like before Solange or even Beyonce were born, Tina and Richard first crossed paths when she was pregnant with Beyonce. Her bestie Gwen, who just so happened to be Richard's younger sister, was the one who introduced them. Now, here's where it gets a little wild. Richard was immediately into Tina, even though she was pregnant as F and very much married. Kind of weird though, right? But hey, everybody's got their thing. But let's not forget, Richard was also married with the daughter of his own at the time. But despite these circumstances, Richard didn't waste any time trying to shoot a shot. But Tina turned him down, of course, because y'all know she was pregnant and committed to her then husband. Well, she still agreed to be friends. And they stayed tight for years, even though Richard was still low-key crushing on her. Fast forward to the I-90s, Richard got divorced and decided to try his luck again. But Tina wasn't having it. She hit him with the friend zone real quick and kept him moving. Well, at least that's the story that Tina has told over the years because Beyonce's former vocal coach. David Brewer has a different story to tell. According to David Brewer, the marriage was super strained all the time because Matthew was allegedly into some illegal substances. In his tell-all book, he wrote, turns out he had escalated to stronger drugs and even stranger behaviors. Figured how did that coke had long since stopped satisfying his thirst and had turned to crack. Oh wow, so apparently David said that Tina started cheating on Matthew with Richard Lawson because of her drug habit. But hey, that's quite a situation. David mentioned that he stumbled upon Celestine kissing a man he recognized while retrieving his keyboard from the main house. Richard Lawson, a famous actor, the startled Celestine had no choice but to introduce me. Talk about awkward. She was supposed to be at her salon, and I extended my hand to Richard, telling him how much I admired his work. He nutted. It's a pleasure, he said after letting him out of the house. Richard is my cousin, she said. He's on that stuff. It's hard to blame Tina for stepping out in her marriage because everybody knows that Matthew is cheating on her extra hard. This got even messier, though, once Beyonce and Solange blew up, taking the whole family into the spotlight with them. Matthew, who was also managing Beyonce's career, suddenly had access to a serious cash flow. Let's just say the rumors about him misappropriating funds and even stealing from his own daughter didn't help his case.
She was a dowry. He married her and he got to have control of the Houston rap scene behind the scenes. Matthew Knowles handed it over to him, and then he daddy.
To make matters worse, Matthew wasn't exactly discreet about his extracurricular activities. It was no secret that he was constantly stepping out on Tina. He ended up getting another woman pregnant while still married to Tina. That was a major low blow, leaving Tina heartbroken and humiliated. She filed for divorce, but then had a change of heart and decided to give her marriage another shot. For a few months, it seemed like things might actually work out, but just when you thought it couldn't get worse, Matthew went and got another woman pregnant. That was the final straw for Tina. She'd had enough and decided it was time to walk away for good. Tina filed for divorce from Matthew in 2011, and Richard was there to support her. Interestingly, she credited Richard with saving her and helping her heal from the trauma of her marriage. After spending over 3 decades in the friend zone, he made the decision to make a move. Despite her initial lack of interest, Richard persisted and eventually managed to change Tina's mind.
We became friends and hung out, and I supported her because she was going through a tough time with the divorce and the remarriage of her previous husband. And we just took our time, we became friends, we hung out, we traveled, and little by little, you know, all the things that were naturally connected, the connective tissue with us, happened in a beautiful sort of evolutionary way.
After being it took another 2 years to convince her to see him as more than just a friend. Finally, after 32 long years, they began dating. This is why Solange and the rest of the Nos clan warmly embraced Richard when he and Tina became a couple. Solange had been familiar with him for as long as she could remember, as he was a close friend of her mother's. Consequently, she had developed a sense of trust towards him. Richard had been around long before anyone in those family even dreamed of being famous, so Solange knew he was in it for the right reasons. He was definitely a better fit for Tina than those other suitors who were just after the Nos name and the money that came with it. And once Richard finally got Tina to date him, he knew exactly how to play his cards right, understanding how devoted Tina was to her kids. He made sure to include them in the relationship too. He spent a lot of time with her daughters Beyonce and Solange and their families, making sure they all felt like one big happy blended family. And this proposal, well, that was all thanks to the one and only Blue Ivy Carter during a family event. So Blue, who was just a little taller, casually asked Richard when he and Tina were going to get married.
Happy birthday, Rich. Happy birthday. Hey there. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Richard.
Happy birthday, guys. Happy birthday, Rich.
Happy birthday,
What you drinking?
It's non-alcoholic orange.
Happy birthday, baby. What are you gonna do?
Richard, recognizing a golden opportunity, thought it was a brilliant idea. He even asked for Blue's permission to propose to Tina, and of course, Blue gave him the green light right away. But he didn't stop there because he decided to also ask her daughter's permission before he proposed. He knew how much her daughters meant to her, so he knew that it was important for her to have her daughter's support. In an interview, he said, and just over the top excited about it. So, like I mentioned, Solange was all in for the marriage at first, believing Richard was the perfect match for her mother, but as time went on, she started to have second thoughts. She began to suspect that maybe they were wrong about him and they might have been in it for the money and fame after all. Solange even admitted that her mom, Tina, can be a little bit of a handful sometimes, like that one time when Tina embarrassed Richard on camera by bluntly telling him he wasn't perfect. I mean, nobody is perfect, but I think it was the way she said it. But despite all that, Solange still believes that Richard was using her mom just like he probably used his first wife, Denise Gordy. Now, for those of you who don't know, Denise's uncle is none other than the founder of Motown Records, which was the record label back in the day. And so Solange allegedly believes that Richard probably leveraged Denise's connections to jumpstart his Hollywood career, and she's convinced he did something similar with Tina. While he might have genuinely loved her at first, for the first 30 years, over time, Solange thinks that the love shifted into some personal effects at both locations. She also gets all earnings acquired since their date of separation and creative works generated during their time together. She also gets to keep a 2018 Tesla, a 2020 Bentley, and the Matriarch book deal, a Penguin Random House, and a one interesting Kirby Beauty Management LLC. Richard was also given a 2021 Cadillac Escalade and the earnings he has accumulated since the date of separation. He also received funds from Richard Lawson Studios, Inc., his SAG pension plan, and royalties, creative works made during their union, and personal belongings, including clothing and jewelry. Insider claims that Solange thinks it would have been fair for Tina and Richard to only take what belongs to them and allegedly thinks he's robbing Tina blind with the alimony. Now, just a lot of people have been feeling a type of way about Sal's revelations, and they've been leaving comments saying stuff like, this is a prime example of you think you want something until you get it, and when you get it, you realize, I don't want no more. This is what happens when you get with marry your rebound. The red flags were ignored on both ends. Just because you knew the person before doesn't mean it's going to work. When you finally get together, things change and people change over time, and I am not surprised she does not respect Mr. Lawson. She also appears very condescending if she disrespects him in interviews and on the world stage. What do y'all think about this? Do you believe what Solange had to say about how Richard ended up using her mom? Or do you believe that she is just trying to save face and protect her mom? Drop your thoughts and comments below, smash that like button, and subscribe. And if you like this video, then y'all got to check out for the next one.